services from industry. There'll be EA opportunities in there. So I'm guessing here that may turn out of the 140 or so that Gartner says is kind of the level of effort. Maybe we in VA will wind up perhaps with a third to a half of that, I'm guessing here, maybe a third to a half of that being government, and the rest provided by industry support to us. And again, that's a very broad definition of architecture, including going all the way down to viable, understandable, useful solution architectures. It's not, you know, it's not just FSAM and all that stuff that you all probably know a lot more about than I do. By the way, I guess one of my other, well, actually, it's this next check mark that just came up here. One of the approaches I've been trying to taking with enterprise architecture is to make a purpose-driven architecture with feedback and evaluation by the customers of architecture. Also, I want to tell you, as I just mentioned a few minutes before the talk here, OMB, on a list of 10, OMB is the last customer. They're number 10 on a list of 10, right? Internal developers, external developers, those people running the CPIC process internal to the VA, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, are all the customers that we're identifying as customers who have a role to play in developing, using, and rating the enterprise architecture at the VA as to whether it's good or not, or meeting the purpose for which they believe they need architecture. I've also been impressed over the past few months by the number of people at the VA who say they need architecture. You know, we need it, and they're pulling their hair out. Well, if only we had an architecture that set the yada yada of where we, terrific. So what I've gone around is and identified all these people, because every one of them who said we need something, I'm thinking in the back of my mind, here's another customer I'm going to drag into this problem, right? And they're going to help me solve this problem, because they're going to be at the table and help me decide what this enterprise architecture needs to be to meet their stated need. Right? And then number two, they're going to rate us on whether we do it or not. So we're taking that approach, and our internal developers are certainly one of those communities. And with that, I'll go to the last one of my slides at the end here, and that's collaboration skills. So with those internal developers, as an example, we have 13 major challenges, and for the VA, I provided you the list. They're the 13 major challenges. It's in a backup slide. Eliminate homelessness, get rid of the backlog of claims, et cetera, et cetera. You'll have this slide. My point being, though, that we're now taking the technical leads for each of those 13 initiatives. We're going to use what we consider, what we call, it's a workshop method. We call them lockdowns. We get everybody in a room, a small number, generally less than 25, sometimes up to 30, but maybe half of that, somewhere between 15 to 30 people, who can actually do work together. Some form of groupware up there, could just be PowerPoint where we do things in real time, could have breakout sessions, get people to come back together. We're taking that approach a week from tomorrow with all the technical leads you saw for those 13 initiatives. We're going to have them in a room. They're each going to brief their architecture to each other and to me. They're going to brief their acquisition strategy to each other, strategies to each other and to me. We will have all the contracting officers and general counsels from TAC there. We're going to have some other engineers other than their own there at that session. And out of that two-day session, we'll come up with agreements on what all the acquisition strategies are, and at least at a high level of understanding as best we can get in 2 days with prep work up to that point, reconciling. They're all doing it now, but they're doing 13 independent ones. So as best we can reconcile all this and bring it together over a 2-day period, we will, and whatever it is, by the end of 2 days, we're finished. So, and all the acquisition packages that result from this have to be into the Technology Acquisition Center by the 18th of June. So with respect to collaboration, we do it. It's become a routine approach at the VA. Again, I'd say we call them lockdowns. We have a planning process we go through with the stakeholders involved. Takes anywhere from a half an hour to an hour. What's the purpose of the lockdown? What are the deliverables that are going to come out of the lockdown? What is the homework that the participants need to do leading into the lockdown? Do we need a short prep session after that for the lockdown? And boom, then have the lockdown. Put all that up on the wall again. Here's why we're here. Remember, this is the homework you're supposed to do. Remember, you're supposed to bring this to the meeting. Remember, and here's the agenda now. We expect you, number one, to stand up there and talk about what we said you were going to talk about, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, over the 2 days. And in the meantime, something up there on a wall like that where we're building or capturing or developing or tweaking or editing something in real time. Everybody is connected to the internet. Not only do we not outlaw BlackBerries, we encourage you to bring your BlackBerries. We encourage everyone to bring their laptops. We make sure we have internet connectivity in the room, so there is no excuse to not get information. We expect people to do reach back in real time from the meeting to get any information they need to complete their work. And that's our collaboration process. So that's working. So again, we intend to take all that I just said and apply it to these red areas you see here to kind of move us to the next level of sophistication with enterprise architecture. So I'm going to say in summary, and then you're all going to jump up and leave. In summary, here's the stuff, right? Let's see if there's anything here that I didn't already tell you. Structural staffing, funding. We're down at the bottom there, chief architect. Inside of the architecture organization that I run, there is actually an architecture division. There is also a product platform manager division, and there's a system development lifecycle division, and then admin support. So, and again, the chief architect deals with what you are familiar with of let's say, enterprise architecture, FSAM, the higher levels of architecture. Our product and platform managers carry that down to the solution architecture. Our system development lifecycle group runs PMAS that I just talked to you about earlier and does the oversight, although of projects to make sure they deliver on time, although in an IPT-like construct that I mentioned to you all earlier, our program oversight is now also done in real time by overseers who are part of the IPTs. So oversight is not done at the end. It's not 4 months into the thing. There's a document review. If a project is important enough to have oversight exercised on it, it's important enough to put an embedded overseer on the IPT so that oversight happens in real time. Okay, having said all that, and if you all have questions, please interrupt me. And someone I know is going to give me a time check here, so I'm going to go back to the beginning. And we'll actually try to go through the presentation, some of it anyway. So, just to kind of grab people, their attention, in no business process modeling, I guess you could say, in the relationship of business process modeling to organizational change management, which we'll talk about later, and then subsequently and last to IT and what it is we do in software and hardware and all that stuff. I tried to pick something to get people to focus on what is organizational change management, what is business process reengineering, well, what is all that stuff, the backlog of claims, how are we going to break the back of the backlog, etc. So I don't know, I found this thing out in the press, which I'm sure most of you have seen, and the two famous words in there are red tape. And one of the, I don't know, bumper stickers I've tried to get people to lock onto is, with respect to visualization, the visualization benefit of what architecture brings to the table is that if you can't see red tape, you can't cut it. If you don't know who's in charge of it, if you don't know which series of boxes are doing what, and whether they're even needed or not, how could you possibly streamline it? So that's the general point of that slide. If you can't see red tape, you can't cut it. And in loose terms, I guess I'll say we use this as a framework, although we're not particularly, I don't know that we're wedded to it in the long term, but it is what we're starting off with as our basis. Yes, sir?
Yeah. Going back to the previous slide, talking about the red tape and just kind of a discussive thing, I think this one slide touches on a lot of stuff. I am a veteran, and I'm actually a veteran of like 6 conflicts. But the point is that actually caused me more problems. Because in IT, we all know, and we can talk about all the technical ability to pull together systems and pull data out of it, yet we rarely do it. If the VA would just take the information they already have on me and create a master file so that when I call in, of course I don't call in that often, but when I call